Hi guys, so I know I said that I would be making a roleplay video soon, but I haven't had many ideas as of recently, so that is being postponed, and instead I'm just gonna do a little bit of a ramble. Like, I might go quiet at some point, but it doesn't matter. Like, I'm writing an essay at the moment about Of Mice and Men. So I could read it to you. It might bore you to sleep, but you know. The first essay was about George's character and how he was portrayed in a certain scene, and we had to look at an extract. And I have written, in the extract given, George and Lenny are discussing their job placement at the ranch. The boss is suspicious of the two migrant workers as they had turned up late for their work, and that only George appears to be doing all the talking. George is asked why he won't let Lenny answer, and what he is trying to put over. George quickly rambles defensively, breaking in and repeating himself. He reiterates that Lenny is a goddamn good worker and highlights Lenny's skills for him. This shows that though George can see that Lenny is a skilled worker, he is reluctant to let Lenny speak up about his own strengths, worried that both of them will lose their chance for the job. When asked if he planned to take Lenny's pay from him, George instantly becomes hostile. He says, "Huh?" as though in disbelief at the boss's question. George seems very uptight in this scene, as though he is on edge, as he has to cover for the both of them. The boss makes a rather interesting point about George and Lenny's relationship, saying that he's never seen one guy take so much trouble for another guy. This is intriguing, as George tends to do this continuously throughout the novel, and it is hinted that he has done this in the story set before the novel. George even goes as far as to lie about being related to Lenny, and makes an attempt to explain Lenny's disability by saying that he was kicked in the head by a horse. This is relevant to the fact that George acts like a family member to Lenny throughout the novel. Because, you know, he wouldn't have known that unless they were related, I suppose. He continues to say that Lenny isn't bright, as though he's trying to warn the boss, possibly so that the boss has nothing against them if something does go wrong. When asked why he'd quit in Weed, George is hesitant, seemingly reluctant to lie. Perhaps he considered the incident in Weed to be shaming, a significant spanner in the works that makes it hard to lie about. Once the meeting draws to a close, George immediately turns on Lenny, his short temper captured in this one scene. He is sarcastic, mimicking George's promise. Lenny's promise, I have to change that, and uses somewhat harsh words such as big flapper to describe Lenny's forgetful mistake. He is rather passionate about their career opportunity, and so is quick to lash out when Lenny damn near lost their chance. George's temperature is quick to simmer, as he sat down heavily after his breath-hungry interlude. This anger reminds me somewhat of a deflating balloon, quick to blow up and limp when the air escapes it. George also has a remorseful, morose side. He is regretful that he always picks up the pieces after Lenny, but knows he is stuck in this situation and so he cannot change that fact, reminding Lenny of it in an attempt to highlight the burden, whether Lenny listens or not. He could also be sympathetic towards Lenny's family, and displays this by saying, "If I was a relative of yours, I'd shoot myself." George is very masculine, and is a leader rather than a follower. He is very quick on his feet, and with a cunning intelligence and a rather colourful vocabulary. He is dominant and is a bold character with many dimensions to him. And the second essay was about how friendship is portrayed in the novel Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I haven't finished it yet, but I could still read it to you. Bore you to death. Friendship in Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men is portrayed in a variety of concepts and through a multiple amount of characters, namely George and Lenny, the most notable characters regarding the topic. For example, George and Lenny's friendship throughout the novel to the audience is familial. This is made clear many times, despite the fact that they are not related at all. George is more of an advising older brother or a firm father. He is the one to lead, come up with the plans, despite how quick some schemes must be made, and make decisions. Though, without Lenny, George seemingly just wouldn't be complete. Lenny is the lumbering, childish, almost naive counterpart to George. There are many examples of their friendship right from the beginning. The two characters were introduced together like a package deal, with George leading the way. The first man and behind him walked the opposite. I put those in brackets as examples. And Lenny following rather aimlessly behind him walked his opposite. This follow the leader scenario continues through the scene and throughout the novel for that matter. George being referred to as the first man and Lenny the second man. The familial seeming bond is portrayed throughout the novel. Lenny is playing the part of the naive younger brother, most notably through copying George's actions and looking to him for approval. This is counteracted by George playing the fatherly role, advising Lenny not to drink from the water, trying to explain the consequences of doing such by simply telling him that he will be sick like he was last night. Lenny insists that George should take a good big drink, indicating a caring for George on Lenny's behalf too. Despite us knowing their bond is that of brothers or father and son, or at least the majority of us perceive it as such, their bond is marvelled at and somewhat questioned by other characters in the novel. For instance, during the interview with their boss muses that he's never seen one guy take so much trouble for another guy, suggesting that in this time, men travelled in a solitary manner, especially migrant workers, and kept themselves to themselves, quite the opposite to what Lenny and George do. Foul play is almost immediately accused of George, highlighting how rare and odd their situation was. More aggressive, upfront characters such as Curly even suggest that perhaps their bond was monogamous, romantic almost, by saying, "Oh, so it's that way." I believe that although it could be interpreted this way, it probably wasn't Steinbeck's intention. Even towards the end of the book, when Lenny's life unfortunately is cut short by George of all people, he does it in Lenny's best interests, wanting Lenny killed quickly and virtually painlessly, rather than slowly and by those who did not care as much. Friendship is also portrayed through the bond between Candy and his old scruffy dog. And that's all I have so far. I don't have much time to get this done. And I apologise for the background noise. My father's playing video games and my brother is screaming about something on the computer. He's laughing, I don't know. Is my tea cold? Yeah, my tea's cold. But I apologise for this rather impromptu and short video, but I hope it helped in some way, and perhaps later on tonight I'll make up for it by actually making a roleplay video this time. If I ever get this essay done. So, good night. If I did bore you to sleep, and if I still somewhat relaxed you or intrigued you, that works too. And have a good evening, day, or night.